So thank you everyone for joining today. Today we'll be looking at reframing disability in advertising with a special focus and a special lens on the Paralympics and kind of the history, a short history on the Superhuman campaign and how it evolved over time and what the impact has been. I will describe some of the images that we see on the screen, but if anyone wants any more description, please just let me know as well. So yeah, to the left of the screen, we have a Paralympian swimmer with the text saying, "We're the Superhumans, Rio 2016 Paralympics." So some quick introductions to who will be leading the call. So on the left hand side of the screen, we have myself in a black t-shirt in front of a blue background, and on the right of the screen we have Nigel Honey, who is presenting in front of a TV. So my name is Emisi Adefala. I am the founder of two companies. One is a video production company where we've shot for brands like Adidas, Amazon, Wildshot, Oxford Cambridge University, and more. And kind of lessons I've learned from that company, it inspired me to create Reshaped, which is an online platform that enables brands to order video content, so user-generated content from disabled creators. We haven't launched yet, but if you would like to become a creator, please join our waiting list. You'll get access to cool events like this, live events as well. We've got some exciting stuff coming up, and also exclusive access to the platform, which is coming out. It is coming out. Trust me, we're just doing our testing. Nigel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So I set up the Ability Academy about 7 years ago. The reason I set the academy up is I've got an invisible disability. And when I started in the film and TV industry, I was told that I wouldn't fit in, or I wouldn't be able to do my job. If you tell me something I can't do, I go off and do it. So that's what I did. I've done feature films all around the world. I now teach and also edit. Last year, I was fortunate enough to go to the Paralympics in Paris, and we was editing the highlights there. I've also worked for a lot of other sports companies such as IMG Sport, all different companies, BBC, ITV and Netflix. And the reason I set up the academy is I wanted to make editing more inclusive. So we now teach Avid, Adobe Premiere and Resolve, which are the main three kind of editing tools used in the industry.
Awesome, awesome. So today we would love for this to be interactive. So if anyone has any comments or things they want to add on the call, or anything that they want to say, please just raise your hand, and we'll invite you to unmute yourself and just let us know your thoughts. And Nigel and myself will be kind of speaking to the slides together. Brilliant. So on the right of the screen, we have a Paralympian that has just won a race and she's celebrating. But we're starting off with a quote today. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're starting off with a quote today. This is from Dan Brooke, who is the current chair of the Paralympic committee. And he said in 2022, looking back at the Superhuman campaign, that in all the history of the Paralympics, no one had given the athletes the Hollywood treatment. We wanted to change that. Right, so this kind of sets the basis of the reason why the Superhuman campaign was created. And what I'm going to do right now is share a video of what the kind of the flagship video for the Superhuman campaign was. So if we just watch this. Can you hear the video?
Yeah.
What goes on? Rolling stones of the rack and not bragging. Lips bigger than and Jagger not sagging. Spell it backwards, I'ma leave it at that. That ain't got nothing to do with rap. Get up. Just like that. Get up. Just like that. Get up. Just like that. Get up. Just like that.
I know this is a shock.
Screaming gangster 20 years later. Of course it does while consciousness faded. New generations believe in them fables. Gangsta boogie on 2 turntables. Thank you for letting us be ourselves. So don't mind me if I repeat myself. These simple lines be good for your health. To keep them crime rhymes on the shelf. Live love life like you just don't care. Never scared. Rain and noise is the moment they fear. Get up, still a beautiful idea.
Okay. Should I read my screen? Sorry, can anyone see my screen anymore? Okay.
Not at the moment.
Okay, cool. Can you see it now?
Yes. Tom raised a question, by the way.
Oh, yes, please. What was the question, Tom?
Yeah, it was just a quick one. I was assuming it was going to be that clip of a man laughing at the screen that's been highly raised recently and been potentially voted as going to be one of the best clips from this year, but clearly not. But no, that's also a good clip as well.
A man was sorry. Can you talk about the clip?
I don't know specifically what it's called. I saw it was the Valuable 500 been voted as one of the best clips from all the disability adverts, and I think it was from Channel 4, and it was a man obviously who wasn't disabled laughing at some of the clips from the Valuable 500, almost laughing at the screen.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but no, that's a great one as well that you just shown.
Yeah. So this was I believe. Okay. So we can talk a little bit more about that actually later in the presentation. This video was actually shot in 2012, but I can talk a little bit more onto that video actually a bit later in the presentation. But this video was the kind of the premiere video for the 2012 Paralympic Games. And before this, why the Superhuman campaign was really created was because the Paralympic Games prior to this was kind of seen as subservient to the Olympic Games, right? However, Channel 4 wanted to raise the standard by giving cinematic treatment and kind of this raw electrifying vibe to the games to excite people to, you know, think that it wasn't something to look at with pity or like the little brother of the Olympics, but something that you could actually get excited and see all these incredible athletes, right? It was meant to be unapologetic, and you know it did have impact. It said that there was some polls, and it said about 65% of people said it changed the perception of disability, and 82% of people saw Paralympians as equal to Olympians based off, you know, kind of the adverts that were promoted around that time. And so the superhuman journey kind of continued after this. So on the left side of the screen, we have a Paralympic athlete doing the shot put, and on the right side we have an athlete posing for a photo. But yeah, so in 2016 we had the Rio Games, and you know the superhuman narrative kind of evolved a little bit, where it wanted to show that anyone with a disability could be this superhuman, right? You didn't have to be an athlete to be superhuman. Anyone that was disabled, that was going through everyday life with challenges, could be considered as superhuman. And then in 2020, they again evolved it a little bit more by putting super.human, which wanted to show to humanize the athletes and people a little bit more. It was meant to be a bit more unfiltered, a bit more honest, and humorous, right? So we kind of saw like 2012, it was very supercharged. These are superhumans and they have superhuman ability. And then it evolved to 2020 where it was a little bit more humanistic, right? And we'll look at the impact. So we saw a 10x increase in viewership between 2008 and 2012, right? 2012 was seen as a breakthrough moment for the Paralympic Games. Younger audiences turned in. Even in the Rio Games, they actually had higher viewership from younger audiences, despite the fact that Rio was obviously in a different time zone. So is it a success, right? So some people would argue, looking at these figures, that it's a massive success. We have to also consider technology advances, social media advanced in those timelines as well, accessibility to the games advanced as well in those timelines, and also investment into the Paralympic Games also increased, are factors that would probably have increased viewership numbers. And Nigel, I just want to say, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
Yeah, I think the problem was with the superhuman kind of element is that they were saying that it was your disability that made you superhuman. But what the athletes were saying was that despite their disability, they are very good at what they do, sort of thing. So that the disability shouldn't really come into a factor. It should be the fact that they're very good sportsmen and they want to be as good as they can be despite having disability. And I think what the superhuman element kind of was trying to do is to put them on a pedestal and say, like, oh, look how amazing they are despite their disability. And as we're going to go on to in a minute, the actual factor that's caused a lot of disability is the sort of social model of a disability, whereas actually it's not the disability that is the issue. It's the fact that a lot of places are inaccessible, and this is why Paris was so much better because I was actually at the Paralympics in 2024, and it wasn't just the venue, it was the whole structure. It was the fact that the trams, the whole buses were all made sure that they were accessible for the athletes. And I think this is what the change was, is they were actually taking the people's disability into consideration rather than actually not even asking them what could they do to help them, sort of thing. And I think this is what's changing now, is the fact that a lot of the times sort of people make assumptions on disabilities, but they don't actually ask people how can they help them, sort of thing. So this is what the change is.
Awesome. Yeah, so on the left of the screen, we see some Paralympic athletes posing for a photo in front of a dark background. And yeah, just to touch on what Nigel said, was that 100%, there was a lot of, the campaign was definitely seen as problematic from disabled people in general, to be honest, because it implied that disability was something to overcome, and it shed a light on the, disabled people and their challenges, rather than how society isn't built to support disabled athletes, if that makes sense, right? It didn't look at society biases. It focused on the disabilities, disabled people being seen as other or different, right? Which can have a very dehumanizing effect on disabled people. And we can see them trying to alter it and, change it, but the root of what they were actually saying, that was what it was problematic, right? And yeah, it said that people that were disabled, that lived, that weren't athletes, were less valuable as well, which is also very problematic. So this is a quote, so on the right side of the screen, we have a Paralympian looking back at the track and field event. This is a quote from Lindsay Atkins. She's the head of 4 Creative, which is the internal agency of Channel 4. She described the Superhuman campaign as gross and problematic. And yeah, it just kind of, she said, like, it ignores the fact that the problems and inequalities associated with disability are created by society. Again, this is kind of touches what I was speaking on earlier, that the lens should have been on society and how, you know, it isn't accessible and it does fail disabled people, rather than seeing, you know, disabled people as these superhumans that, you know, can rise despite the things that they have to face, which is kind of like the wrong messaging. And yeah, so I think this is important as well to realize that I don't believe that when they were creating the I believe that they had the best intentions at heart, right? But sometimes having your best intentions isn't good enough. You have to do the research, right? And sometimes when we create, I'm a creator, I'm a videographer myself. I have unconscious biases that I don't even realize that I have, that will come out in my work if I don't address that, and if I don't really critically think and actually look at the people I'm targeting or trying to speak to. If I don't hear from them, then I can produce something that's not actually for them. So you can see this in the Superhuman campaign, because the actual theme of superhumanism, where linked to disabilities, is actually something that originates from the 1800s, where, you know, in circus shows and, you know, other platforms, disabled people are either seen as these miraculous beings that, you know, they can do incredible things despite them having disabilities, or they were looked as with pity, right? And yeah, the campaign definitely echoed these narratives from Victorian times, which was the super crip trope. Again, this is not things that we want to do, and that's why we have to challenge our own unconscious biases. Oh, sorry, I forgot the description. We have someone doing a pull-up on the left side of the screen, right side of the screen. Yeah, on the right side of the screen, we have a Paralympian cyclist with the #1 sign up. Great. So yeah, so the shift started to really happen in 2020, where again, I mentioned they put the superhuman, trying to put humanity first. It was meant to be all more authentic, more grounded. But Paris was really where we saw the, you know, kind of complete dissociation between the superhuman theme. And brilliant. Nigel, do you want to speak on the?
Well, that was the change, basically, is that they realised that this kind of thing of putting people up as a pedestal didn't work, basically, and the fact that they should look at people as competitive in their own sport is the main aim of it, to make sure that these Paralympians that have come from all over the world are there to compete. They don't care about their disability. They may care, but their real purpose is the sport. The sport is the main aim of why they're there, and to compete on a professional level, sort of thing. This thing of, oh, pity them, it's like people with disability have got enough to worry about without thinking about their own disability. The whole point of myself as a disabled person is to continue to do what I want despite my disability. I don't care about my disability, but what I want to do is to show that even if you have got a disability, you can be a world leader in whatever you do, basically. And I think this was the change of the 2024, and you could feel it. You could feel that it was all about the sport. And I was actually at the venue with the athletes, and there was no this kind of this and us. The media was in the athletes, and we was chatting away, and it was nice, that kind of these kind of barriers that have been brought down, and I really appreciated that at Paris 2024.
Yeah, 100%. And Tom, I think this was the advert you were talking about?
Yeah, that was the one I meant.
Yeah. So I was that's why I was like, okay, let's just wait a second, because you're ahead of everyone else. But yeah, so as we can see from that video, we can see a couple of different things from the advert that was so interesting. Was first, it was putting the mirror at society, right? So you saw the gentleman laughing, like Tom mentioned earlier in the call. Secondly, we could see the comments that were made by people viewing it. Again, this is meant to trigger people to seeing like, oh, these are actual biases that I have that they might not even be aware of. And most importantly, it looked at the skill, the grit, the amazing accomplishments that these athletes were showing, rather than focusing on their disability, right? And that was the whole point. It was meant to humanize them, that saying they are just incredible athletes, period, right? Not because they have a disability, they're superhuman, or they're just incredible athletes. And that was the whole point of it. And yeah, the impact speaks for itself. Also, a great point is that I believe 100% of the people that were presenting the Paralympics were disabled as well. And yeah, my fiance, when I was going through this with her yesterday, she was saying that even on social media, you could feel the buzz, right? Because it was entertaining, it was fun. You could actually relate with the athletes. It gave you a lot of behind the scenes content as well, right? And she was really engaged. Like, she saw it popping up everywhere, right? And the viewing figures showed this. They had the biggest ever young audience turnout, which is incredible. And 41 million social media views across platforms is, yeah, it just speaks for itself, right? Cool. So we have a Paralympian doing long jump as a photo, and this brings us to what lessons brands can take from the journey of the Paralympics advertising. Now, you know, Nigel and I were discussing this before the call, and I discussed this with everyone we speak to at Reshaped, talking to investors, talking to creators, talking to brands, as to content with disability representation performs very well. We've seen for the Paralympics the jump in figures, right, between 2008 to 2012, when there was actual investment moved into the Paralympics, right? How engaged numbers held steady across different years. And yet, with 24% of people in the UK saying that they have some form of disability, yet disabled people only represented 4% of the time in adverts. Yet there are so much statistics that say there's 2 times greater brand recall when there's an ad that features a disabled person in it. 80% of consumers are more likely to trust a brand that prioritizes disability inclusion. You know, there's a boost in engagement rates. There's all these indicators that show how well it performs. But why is it that only 4% of ads show a person with or a disabled person? Nigel, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think what's changing now is that both advertisers and broadcasters are really realizing that we need to make sure that we are inclusive and that we do see different people on the screen, because if we don't, all we're going to be doing is creating the same kind of content for the same kind of middle class white people, and we're losing an audience basically, because if we don't show representation both in front of and behind the screen, we're doing ourselves a disservice. As you say, 25% of the UK population has a disability, and that's probably not including a lot of people with invisible disability who don't want to disclose it, sort of thing. And I think campaigns that work with people with disability perform so much better than other people. The other thing to be aware of, and I think you're always going to go on to this, is that companies that are more diverse actually perform better in terms of business and in terms of like how much money they make. And the other reason that it is good to have people with different opinions and from different backgrounds, is that what you don't want in a company is having yes men. You don't want everyone to say yes to a campaign. What you want is different people from different perspectives, and then you think, actually, why have they missed that out? Why haven't they done that? And if you have different people with different backgrounds sitting in your boardroom or sitting when you're making a campaign, that makes it so much better, because you've got these different voices talking when you're creating your content.
100%. And this goes to, some key lessons from brands, right? That Nigel's kind of already pointed at. It's that, firstly, avoid the inspiration trap. Like, oh my gosh, they're so inspirational because they've got this disability and they can do X, Y, and Z. Represent equality, not exceptionality. Again, look at the person and how good they are, not because they've got disabled that means that they're good. Do you know what I mean? No, they're just great. They're just amazing, right? Really think about the language you use as well. And if you've grown up a certain way, saying certain things and looking, it's going to be hard, right? But that just because it's hard or it's something you need to do doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, right? So avoid words like brave and overcoming and things of that nature. Oh, sorry, we have a disabled athlete celebrating a win on the right side of the screen. And this presentation says co-create with disabled voices, which is important. Work with disabled influencers, work with disabled creators. They don't have to be influencers. Work with disabled agencies. Something I didn't announce is that this week, very excited to announce that Purple Goat, who is a disabled agency, they essentially were one of the pioneering voices for the 2024 Paris Games. They created the concept with the Channel 4 and the games, and the founder is now a mentor for Reshaped through Tech Nation, which is incredible. They work with some of the biggest brands across the country, so very excited to announce that. I should have given them props earlier in the presentation, slipped my mind. And also, I believe Sarah said something in the chat. She said, yes, the buzz of the Primark campaign is incredible. I believe that Purple Goat were behind that as well. But don't quote me on that. And and also hire, what Nigel said, hire disabled people within your organization so that you have more diverse voices, which will make you create more beautiful content. Because when there's friction, diamonds are made under pressure, right? So let's have pressure from different voices, different people to create amazing campaigns, because it works. Authenticity converts. And cool. So with Reshaped, this is what we're trying to do. We're a platform that enables brands to order video content from disabled content creators easily, right? It's self-service, so brands can create a brief on our platform. They'll be able to, then disabled creators will be able to easily apply directly to the brand. Brands will choose the creator they want to work with, ship the products directly to the creators' homes, and the creator will be able to create video content in the comfort of their own home, right? Where, they don't have as many accessibility barriers, right? And then they'll be able to upload the video content onto the platform, and then brands can utilize that content across social media and their websites. So our aim is to increase disability representation in advertising because it's good for business, right? It's good because it's good to have more representation. This is good because, as we've shown, that it works, right? It works for businesses. And I know that's all they really care about, because they want to profit maximize. So if you're interested in joining, if you're a brand, a creator, or just want to be a supporter, or you have any ideas for future events, or you want to collaborate on an event, please join our waiting list and reach out. We'd love to work with you and talk to you and learn a little bit more about you. So thank you so much. But yes, have wonderful days. If I'm not connected with you on LinkedIn, please connect. Please join my English, and please share as well. Please share to people you know about Reshaped as well. So thank you all so much, and just
one final question. Do we need to do anything to be connected on the website, or are we just waiting for you to?
You're waiting for us.
And...
I know it's been a while. But we're just building on the back end, and we like I said, these conversations, but we are going to be hopefully doing more events and stuff like that in the run up. So we'll keep you engaged, keep different topics and conversations going as well. And yeah, we probably will launch January. That's kind of, but don't hold me to that, right? But we're looking at January of launching the platform. It's there. It's just we want to make sure that it actually is fit for purpose as well. So yeah, it's a big burden on us, but we will deliver. So thank you so much again, everyone, and have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye.